Hey, stunning people. My name is Beane, and welcome to the Salt Lick Sessions. We have a multi-Grammy award-winning artist in the house. She is on the front lines of bluegrass and Americana music. This is Molly Tuttle. Hi, Molly.
Hi, how's it going?
It's going good. How are you?
I'm good. Enjoying the AmeriCanaFest week.
We're so stoked to have you in.
Oh, thank you. I've been really looking forward to this. It's been a long time coming. I love the Salt Lick Sessions. I've been watching a bunch of them, so thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. My boss, I'm going to expose you, Roger, has been talking about getting you in for a long time.
Oh, yeah. Roger's been extremely supportive of me ever since I was at Berkeley. I started there in 2012, and he was just a huge champion for me at the School of Music, and even came out and visited with my parents at Starbucks years ago. And they called me and were like, we just had coffee with the president of Berkeley. And they couldn't believe it.
No, I love that. So I'm stoked. I'm stoked for him that you're here. And selfishly, I'm also very excited that you're here.
Thank you.
Where are you from, Molly?
I grew up in Palo Alto, California.
California?
Yeah, about 40 minutes south of San Francisco.
And was the first time you left home when you went to college?
Yeah, that's when I moved away from home. I was 19 and just ready to move as far away from home as possible, but also really excited to study music.
Yeah.
And just get immersed in the scene in Boston.
What was the bluegrass scene like in California?
It was pretty great. It was like, people don't associate California with bluegrass, but there is kind of this history of some of the greatest bluegrass musicians have gone out there, especially to the Bay Area, and made some wonderful records, partially due to like the influence of Jerry Garcia, who started out like a banjo player and was really into bluegrass. He brought some people into the area. But yeah, growing up, there was a big scene of lots of bluegrass festivals around Northern California that I'd go to. My dad is a music teacher, and he teaches all the bluegrass instruments. He does private lessons. He still teaches, and so I would meet his students who played music as well, and sometimes we'd have jam sessions or play little gigs at the local pizza parlor and other kind of local venues around town. So it was a fun and really supportive and warm music scene to grow up in.
What does your dad feel about, dare I say this, no offense to Mr. Tuttle, you eclipsing him?
Me eclipsing. Well, I don't know. I mean, I think he's pretty excited that he gets to go to all these festivals and concerts, and he gets like free tickets. He's always hitting me up like, can I get a weekend pass to this festival you're doing? And then I'll see people the next day. They're like, I was partying with your dad till 6 a.m. last night. So he's living his best life for sure. And definitely kind of, getting an in at whatever bluegrass festivals he wants to go to, which he's excited about.
That's kind of like a life hack, maybe. Yeah, to carry on. I like that. Okay, I'm going to shove that in the back of my head for later. So then you went to Boston to study music. Mm-hmm. What was the scene like in Boston? Did you find it was a good space to grow and innovate?
It was, yeah. I loved the scene in Boston right away. When I got to Boston, I had people hitting me up to play little gigs around town. So I started working, and then I was in school too. And I loved Berkeley because it was like any genre, any style of music you could imagine. They had classes, teachers who could teach you about so many different kinds of music. And then the students were just incredible to be around because it was just getting immersed in this student body, and everyone's working towards the same thing in a way. We're all working really hard at our instruments, thinking about what we want to do, where we want to go, how we want to make this into a career after we graduate. And that was so inspiring, and I just feel like I learned so much from the students as well as the classes that I took. And it's also such a rare time in life to get to completely focus on learning and, perfecting your craft as well as you can. And then when you leave school, it's like, okay, I got to get to work. And now, like, I wish I had all day to just sit around and play guitar sometimes like I used to. Right.
No, that's so real. That's so real. Did you find that there was any genre at school that was particularly challenging?
Anything that involved, like, sight reading was really hard. I went in knowing zero music theory. And I always learned by ear. I didn't even know the names of the notes on the guitar fingerboard. And so I found anything that had to do with like that kind of technical aspect to the building blocks of how to explain music and the sounds that you're hearing, that was difficult for me because there was a huge learning curve. But after about a year, at first I was a little frustrated in some of my classes. I'm like, I don't get how this applies to what I do. Like, I can already play by ear pretty good, and I can just learn this stuff by listening. And then about a year, it all started to sink in, and then everything kind of opened up where I was like, wow, I understand these scales. I understand how to, transpose things into different keys and listen to a song. And now I kind of can instantly hear where the notes would be on the guitar, and it makes more sense. And that really helped me make a big leap because I knew absolutely nothing in the music theory realm, and then I had started knowing some basic stuff, and it was suddenly like a light bulb went off.
I totally hear you there. I was in the same boat.
Nice.
I was. Did you start songwriting in college, or did you start songwriting back at home in California?
I started writing songs when I was in high school in California, and I started figuring out, like, junior year, I realized, like, I want to go to music school. I probably want to go to Berklee because I was touring different music colleges, and it seemed like a lot of the ones I found, at least in California, were more like classical conservatories, and Berklee was one where I knew people there. I knew they had an American Roots program, which I was really excited about. There were a bunch of cool bands in the Boston music scene that I wanted to, get to meet these great musicians, and so I kind of had my sights set on Berklee. And then my high school, Palo Alto High, it was a public high school, but they offered this program where it was called middle college, where you take half community college classes, half high school classes. So I started getting these college credits out of the way.
Smart.
And that's when I took a songwriting class at this community college. And I had been so daunted by songwriting because I was like, what do you even write about? Like, how do I write lyrics? I don't know. I was just having kind of like writer's block before I even started, basically. And then I got in this class where it was a really simple class. They would just give you prompts, like write a song with 2 verses and a chorus, but you had to turn in a song every week and play it for the class. And that, kind of broke the ice for me, where I felt the first time I wrote a song and played it for everyone, I was really nervous. And then they were all super supportive. It was a really like safe space to kind of just share these early songs I was writing. And so that's how I started writing songs. And then it was like a continuation of that at Berklee. I was so used to that schedule of one song a week, and then that's how a lot of the songwriting classes were at Berklee too, but a little more structured and a lot more like critique on the song. Sometimes I was like, oh man, I don't know what I'm doing at all after coming away from those classes, but I learned a lot.
So the pipeline from the daunting songwriting class in high school to then becoming a Grammy Award winning songwriter, where's the moment in there where you were like, oh, I think I can actually do this. I think I can actually make a career out of this. Did you have like a light bulb epiphany?
I remember when I moved to Nashville, for the first year or so, it was really tough. I was like, I don't know if I can make a living doing this. I was like touring in my grandma's minivan that she like gave me a good deal on, and just booking my gigs myself, and like I was terrible at logistics, and I would book these shows that were like way too far apart, and then we'd be driving overnight. It was just kind of rough, and I was making zero money, and kind of just like living in this basement, and so that was like tough, and I was like, I don't know if this is gonna work. Like I hope it does, but since I had a dad who was a music teacher, I was like, maybe I should have like stayed at Berklee the whole 4 years. I did this artist diploma thing, so I was there for 2.5 years, but I didn't get a full degree. And I was like, maybe I should have gotten my degree and become like a professor, like just get a normal music teaching job like my dad. But I'm just gonna give it another year or two and see what happens. And I think after a few years living in Nashville, you slowly get an agent and then like a manager, and then you're in a better van, and now we're in a bus. But it's like so gradual. It's hard to pinpoint a moment where I was like, I know I can do this. But every time I felt like completely giving up, something would then happen that was really cool, and then I was like, okay, well that's a good sign, like I'm gonna keep going. So I did feel like a lot of times at like the lowest point, it would be right before something awesome in my career happened that then would give me a boost to like, okay, I can do this. Yeah.
It sounds like you're somebody who has a lot of perseverance then. That's how I interpret that.
I'm a Capricorn, and they're all about like working towards one goal and being very focused.
No, that's good in this industry though. It is. It is. So then you reached what a lot of our peers would consider the top of what you can get in terms of like honors and recognition with getting the Grammy.
Thanks.
What's it like? I'm so curious as to like the mindset the day after when you're like, oh, okay, I've reached the ceiling. Now what do I do? Did you have did you struggle at all when you felt like you kind of got that huge award, or did it make a big difference in how you approached your songwriting?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it was just so, surreal to have that experience of like hearing your name called in the room, and all of it just felt unbelievable to me. So I remember the day after, I was just like, I was really happy and like extremely honored, and felt like this huge milestone had just happened, but I was also like a lot to take in, like so overstimulating that I did kind of have, you get like a little slump after this huge experience like that, I feel like. So I remember both times, the last 2 years when I was out for the Grammys, I would just, after the Grammy night, then I would kind of go back up to the Bay Area and just like chill for a few days, visit family, and that was very grounding after kind of like a crazy experience like that.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
A little return to normal.
Yes.
Remember the Northern California festivals.
Yes, exactly.
No, that's also good. Are there any artists right now that you think everybody should be turned on to?
Oh, some of my favorite artists are, I've been listening to the new Gillian Welch album just like nonstop. She's one of my hugest heroes, and I grew up just obsessing over her music. And if anyone hasn't checked out their new album, Woodland, it's amazing. It was made right here in Nashville. So good. Right now we're in the Wood Brothers studio, and they are one of my favorite bands. I'm just looking around at all their posters on the wall, and people should definitely check out the Wood Brothers. But there's just like too many great bands to count. We just did a show with Top House, and they're an amazing up-and-coming band that I hadn't been familiar with until a couple of months ago, and they just totally blew everyone away.
Amazing. So again, you have the Grammy, there's the ceiling there. What's next? Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
I definitely want to continue exploring what I can do with my songwriting. I feel like my last couple albums were more like strictly in the bluegrass vein. I'd like to push outside that box a little bit while kind of staying true to the music I grew up with, I guess. And I feel like in 5 years, I just want to, still be making albums that I feel like are my best yet. I want to keep improving, getting better at guitar, getting better at songwriting and singing. And it's been like such a fun life path so far. I just hope that it continues, on a good track, I guess.
Totally. Again, it's the Capricorn energy. I'm sure it will. And then my last question for you is that if you could talk to little Molly, who's doing the college, high school classes and all that, what would you say to her? What would she think about where you are now?
I would tell her to stop stressing out about every little thing constantly, which I would still probably tell myself to this day. But I remember like at the time I was just so worried about, I was worried about money. I was worried about what I was going to do after college, where I was going to move. Like every little aspect of my life that ended up working out fine, I just spent so much time agonizing over. And I feel like that's such a part of my personality to this day. I feel like I worry about stuff all the time. And looking back, I'm like, I didn't need to be worried about like half the stuff I was thinking about. But it's hard at the time to see that.
No, that's so real. Well, if it means anything to you, I'm not worried about you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think you have it figured out.
Thanks so much.
And I can say on behalf of all of us, I'm super grateful that you could come in today.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yes, thank you, Molly. I like to end everyone with a squeeze. Can we do a squeeze?
Yes.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, stunning people. If you're loving our music, make sure to give us a like and a subscribe. And comment below who you want to see next.